Hi, Dimitri and Kirill from the Stakewise team. Really happy to have you here. Glad you're on
Hi,
the
Kieran.
channel.
Thanks for
Hi,
inviting.
Kieran. Hey, guys.
I hope you're doing good. I think we can just start off this interview and I'll give you the mic and you can give an elevator pitch of Stakewise. What pain points does it solve and who's the target user? Who can use it?
Stakewise is the project which aims to solve most of the pain points of ETH2 stakers. It wants to make them seamlessly to deposit ETH, to withdraw it, and also in case you have your dapp, to integrate that through our smart contracts and API.
Yeah, so when we first started off with the Stakewise, we saw that, okay, if staking isn't going to be without barriers, people need a whole 32 ETH to start staking, they need an equipment, they need technical setup and so forth. So we saw this as an opportunity that we could actually provide for users everything that they need in order to just get their yield and forget about the pain of maintenance of the whole thing. And
So I think that's a very good pain point that you're trying to solve. I've done quite a few Prism different validator client installations, and they're quite technical. And also getting 32 ETH is a lot of money. So what's the minimum?
Now.
Yeah, yeah. So what's the minimum staking requirement for the Stakewise team? If I'm a new user and I want to stake on Stakewise, how much ETH do I need to have?
Yeah, the smallest deposit you can make on Stakewise is 0.001 ETH. So it's like very small. It's not enough, of course, to have your own validator. For that, you need 32 ETH, of course. But we really wanted to provide different options for users to actually pull that ETH in case they don't have 32. So you can always have probably some friends which also hold these and they will also want to stake it together. Then you can actually group with any amount of people and stake together to collect 32. Or you can participate in a pool, in a public pool where everyone can deposit. And there is like the small amount is 0.001 ETH. And in case you have 32 ETH, of course, you can have your own validator and do any sort of actions with that and have full ownership of that validator. In case of the pooling, you always share the reward proportion to your deposit. So in case you have like 4 persons in one private pool, you can share with each other, or in case of the public pool, it's also depending on the amount of deposits you get there. And all of that is done through our smart contract.
Oh, that's good. So yeah, so anyone with small amounts can join. That's I think a very good benefit. So what kind of staking options do you offer?
Yeah, so it depends. Like as a user, when you come to us, you just like the first question you probably can ask yourself whether you have 32 ETH or you don't have. In case you don't have, in case you don't have 32 ETH, then you probably have some friends which have also ETH. And in case you make 32 together, then you can create a private pool, and then you can decide on how long you would like to stake together, when to withdraw, and you can also stake non-custodially if you want, and also you can stake custodially. And in that case, you can benefit from something what we call a validator transfer. This is like temporary mechanism which we came up with to actually solve the problem that it's not possible to withdraw your validator balance before phase 2 of ETH to release, so to say. And in that case, you are actually you're giving somebody else the validator for exchange of their 32 ETH in that case. So as a result, you kind of get out of staking, and when phase 2 lands, then you just come back for your rewards and withdraw them. And the user who actually gets your validator, he keeps the activation queue, which could take hours or actually days, even sometimes, to get into the staking. So you kind of help each other, and that's kind of a liquidity mechanism which we came up with at Stakewise. And in case you have, and there is also so-called public pool where anyone can deposit any amount, and those we have in 2 variations. So if you want to make like a long-term investment, you can deposit in phase 2 public pool, so-called, and there your deposit will be staking up to phase 2, and when phase 2 is going to be launched, you can just come back and withdraw that together with the reward. And there is also so-called periodic pool, which will stay for 1 month. So all the users, they deposit up until they collect 32. and as soon as they collect, it starts staking. And after 1 month, you will be able, there will be a validator transfer requested automatically. And it means that if there will be somebody else who would like to get into the staking for Stakewise, then you would get their deposit, like their 32 ETH, split that among the pool you had, and withdraw your deposit back. And they will continue staking with your validator already.
So do I understand that correctly? That the swap is for someone that has their own node, or can someone that is staking maybe just 1 ETH, can he also participate in the swap and get and withdraw his ETH if he's only staking for 1 month?
So in case you the swap always happens on the validator level. So in order to swap, one must have 32 ETH and another must have a validator. And that's only possible with custodial staking. So in case of non-custodial, you can't do that because the person who owns the withdrawal key always have the ownership of that validator. So in that case, one has validator and one has 32 ETH. And actually, those who have 32 ETH, it could be a pool, or it could be like a solo staker, or it could be like a pool with friends, which the option will also offer. So, and in that case, you swap. And if you had a pool behind those 32 ETH, then of course you will be withdrawing the amount you deposited into the pool. So in case you deposited 5 ETH, you will withdraw 5 ETH in that case, and all others will withdraw their deposit in that case.
That makes sense.
I guess an important point to note here, that even though you can withdraw the deposit that you originally made, the rewards that you have accrued will only become withdrawable upon the arrival of phase 2. So these do not disappear anywhere. Whenever you transfer your validator to somebody else, they don't pick up your rewards that you have already earned. And the beacon chain keeps the record of the rewards, and you essentially get them after arrival of phase 2. Okay.
Yeah. Is there a benefit, or is there are there differences in the rewards should a user use the pool that is limited to phase 2, that you can only withdraw to phase 2, or decides to do the one where you can already withdraw after 1 month? Is there a difference there between how much rewards you can earn and how much fees you pay?
No, it's always the same. It's always like as it comes for the pooling, for the custodial pooling, we all have we probably can talk about the fees a bit later, but in general, there is no difference if you do the validator transfer or not. It's just the matter of the amount of rewards you get will only depend on the amount of time you take, basically. So the longer you stake, the bigger reward you get, and the fee is always constant for your period of staking.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we also have an option for solo stakers. So as we found out that there is quite many pain points if you stake on your own, and you have to take care of your validator not get penalties. You need to monitor that. You have to know how to set up it correct. You have to store the keys, and there is plenty of different problems which when you do it yourself, stakers face in that case. And for them, we also provide so-called a non-custodial and custodial staking option. So, and in that case, they can just deposit their 32 ETH or even more. They can decide how many validators they want to stake with us. So it really, and then depending on the amount of validators, it's like 32 times the number of the validators you want to stake, and then we're gonna just run that for it. It's sort of the advanced hosting option for you in case of your validators.
I think that's a good point. Very interesting and also very useful. And I think now what you mentioned with the hosting. So as far as I understood, Stakewise validator clients are running on the cloud, right? Can you maybe explain in a high level overview, or maybe in layman terms, how you can ensure that all these validators can remain online, as hopefully 99.99 or even 100%? What kind of security features and so on have you implemented to prevent downtime?
That's right. We dealt with that problem as probably the biggest we wanted to solve. So as soon as the Prism released their first version, we started running the validators in the cloud, and we really wanted to take care of them not get penalties, to always be up and running and have a redundant kind of failover mechanism, which will not make them getting penalties or even getting slashed in that case. So as for the technologies, we use the Kubernetes for that. So this is something which is quite widely used for running the applications with a very high uptime. And we run a cluster of nodes. So it's never like one node. It's usually depending on the amount. So if we see more validators wanting like more validators registering, the infrastructure gonna grow with the numbers. So we can accommodate potentially any amount of validators on our infrastructure. And as it comes for the validator nodes, they are always run in like not multiple of two, because if you run two, then you can get slashed, of course. But in case you have, like, we run one validator per, like one validator client, but it can have like multiple keys on that. For the beacon chain, we run multiple beacon chain nodes, and validators are load balanced between the beacon chain nodes, so they can connect and request the blocks for proposing and signing. And we also run like a slasher for that, so you can always get additional whistleblower rewards for reporting of somebody doing some bad things on the beacon chain.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and as it comes, we really want to improve it much more. We will migrate to the remote key manager. So we want to do that because if somebody gets, like in Validator, you have two keys, validator key and withdrawal key. And in case like validator key is stolen, let's say, by somebody, then you cannot get your validator balance, but you can make your validator start getting penalties or getting flash action. So we're gonna use the remote key manager to make sure that nobody has access to the validator keys in that case, and it will be kind of, and even like we cannot access it as well. It's only like the validator sending the request for signing something and getting the response back in that case. And we also do like a lot of monitoring as well with notifications, and as soon as there is something abnormal happening, we're always notified about that and react with, as quickly as we can.
So I guess one of the main issues that might occur is like the service provider that you're using. If they have an outage, then that would possibly cause all the validators to have to receive penalties. Is that something that can happen?
So in case of the failure of the particular server, in that case, all the validators which run on that server, they're gonna automatically migrate to another server. So it kind of can detect that, okay, this node is down, all the validators are down, so it will spin up a new node in a matter of minutes, and all the validators will be running there again. And that's why, like, that's what Kubernetes allows you to do. This is what we use. And we also have in plans to, of course, run multiple clients. Now we are focused on Prism, but we also want to run Lighthouse and other clients as well. So to make sure that in case there is some bug or something not particularly solved in one client, we can always switch to another client seamlessly in that sense. And also distribute among different clouds. That's something we are very interested in as well. And we are also working on that. And probably when there are some more features gonna come in, such as secret shared validators, then we can actually have a multiple data, like cloud, multiple clusters running in different data centers and different cloud providers, and distribute the validator among them.
Very interesting. So I think you've thought about quite a lot of aspects on how to secure the system. I think this gives a lot of trust. So I think that is great. I think what we can move on to, and that's more about the many questions that I've received on my last video, where I just give a short introduction about the Stakewise platform. And one of the biggest questions that occurs is how can we trust this third-party team? I mean, are there things that you're moving towards to enable like users to trust this company a lot more? For example, maybe in form of a smart contract audit or a platform audit, or are there maybe other things that you're planning to do to maybe help users trust or not even have to trust the platform? Like many decentralized finance platforms, you don't really need any trust because they're completely autonomous.
Right. So I guess I can take this question. With regards to the latter part of what you asked, staking with a centralized provider like us does have a disadvantage that you have to trust us to do our infrastructure well, like Dimitri described, just before me, and you have heard him say that we take every single precaution that we can to actually maximize the yield for customers. But in terms of the audits and the security of the code and so forth, then of course we see this as a very heavily requested thing from our early users, the security audits of our smart contracts. And we have sourced several offers from audit companies that we're currently choosing from. But let's say that we are fully committed to auditing our code before we are going to take users' funds on the mainnet. So for us, the worst case that can happen is actually letting someone down, and we want to avoid this at all costs. So security audit is at the top of our priorities.
Oh, that's good to hear. I think many users are glad about that. I mean, as far as I know, I don't think any of the competitors have done a security audit yet. But I think it's a good step to go forward. Now,
yeah,
you might have heard of smart contract insurances. So that might be another form of security that maybe might give users a little bit more trust. What do you think about that? Is that something on your agenda or?
Right. So far we have not heavily looked into this because frankly, we have quite a few things to sort through before we get to the, say, added, peace of mind for users in terms of having this insurance. But we have discussed something like a guaranteed compensation of the lost rewards in case we see that the network as a whole is actually stable, and we can see that we are running in a very stable mode as well. Then we can actually try and guarantee users that if anything actually happens to us, we're going to compensate this penalty. But this is by no means yet sort of ironed out. We are looking into the best way to do this. This might not appear in the end, or it might, but yeah, our main commitment is to make sure that people who stake with us, A, generate maximum yield, and B, do this in the sort of most stable, secure way. So anything that we can do to achieve this, we'll be pursuing.
That's good.
And are pursuing at the moment.
Perfect. So I think it's good that you're thinking a lot about the security now, so like the different points you addressed. Now, maybe as a last topic, I think that's also very important for people to think if it's worth it to run their own validator or maybe go with a third-party provider like Stakewise. Is what is the fee structure like? Maybe you can give a little bit of information on that.
Sure. So Dimitri described that we have two main staking modes, one being custodial, where we generate the withdrawal key for the validators that we run, and another being non-custodial, where users bring their own withdrawal key. So because of the fact that the withdrawal key gives its owner potential access to the funds, we charge for the non-custodial mode monthly, and we ask users to pay $3 to $10 per month in either ETH or DAI monthly, and the actual number the actual figure that you pay depends on the amount of validators that you run with us. But when it comes to custodial validators, then we will be charging a fixed percentage on the rewards that users earn with their validators. And we will charge this only upon arrival of phase 2. So people won't have to pay a penny before phase 2 in order to stake. So I guess the logical question to ask here is how can users trust us with generating our own withdrawal key for the validators that will be run on their behalf? And here we are looking into different options. So we are considering, two main ones. First of them is using a custodial sort of service provider, which is typically a very trusted entity within the Ethereum or general cryptocurrency ecosystem. We have looked and spoken to several and are currently thinking what's our best move here. And another option is to actually come up with a clever way to store the withdrawal key that wouldn't actually give us access to it, despite the fact that we are using it to spin up a validator. And I guess Dimitri can say shed more light into how we could potentially do this.
Yeah. So for the storage, as it comes for the storage of the withdrawal key, we have like from how we think it's possible to do is you can actually use this feature of BLS keys, which is used in Ethereum 2, which is that you can split that on multiple different keys. And in order to do the withdrawal for the validator, you can actually have, you need to have a signature of each individual key. And those signatures you kind of combine together, and that will be another valid signature, which must be used to do the withdrawal of the validator. So in that case, you can actually use that mechanism to have a withdrawal key, split it into multiple different parts. And then you can also use such a mechanism as Shamir secret sharing. This is when you can say that in order to do the withdrawal for the validator, you must have at least, let's say, 5 out of 7 signatures to make that correct signature. So in that case, if you split the withdrawal key into multiple parts and for some reason 2 signatures you were not able to get, you can still manage to withdraw the validator because you have 5 other signatures in place. And that sort of the mechanism allows to have like to basically ask multiple trusted entities to generate a withdrawal key, and then use the Shamir secret sharing to actually require to have only 5 out of, let's say, not 5, but m out of n different keys to generate, like to have one combined key in that sense, and then you use that to perform a withdrawal for your validator. So this is how it could work.
Thank you. And ultimately, we will choose whatever is the safest solution because we plan to run, several thousands of validators, and obviously this will be a lot of fun. So we will choose the most secure solution.
Yeah,
perfect.
And as it comes for also just to add on here, it's like the same mechanism we are actually planning to use for non-custodial private pools. This is when you can create like a private pool with a certain amount of people, invite them there, they're going to deposit the keys together, and then like you will have one shared validator. And in that case, you can do that non-custodially because you can ask each person, each among your friends, so to say, to generate their own withdrawal key. And for that, we're going to build a desktop application as well, where you could like easily generate such a withdrawal key and store it securely. And then you altogether submit that key you generated, and then the custody of your private pool will be distributed among the group of people which deposited in that case. So, and that's kind of that fancy mechanism which allows you to have because of the BLS keys.
Very, very interesting, very complex. I think you have both thought a lot about the security aspects of storing the keys, and I think that's great. Now, maybe you can give me some information about how the transition went to the Medalla testnet, and if it's possible for anyone that's interested in giving Stakewise a test drive, if they can try it out with some girly Eve.
Yeah. So with the migration to Medalla, we actually wanted to see how far we can get, and we registered, plenty of validators, and the initial launch was a little bit scary, and come couple of hours, everything was running perfectly. Users can join our beta right now. We are available at stakewise.io. The only thing that is required of users is to actually have a wallet like MetaMask or Portis. In the future, they will also be able to access with things like a Coinbase wallet, anything that supports Wallet Connect protocol. And yeah, the only thing that they need to do is have some girly Eve. If they don't have it, then they can request some through a button at the top of our webpage. And can try every single staking mode that we have in the app. It is as easy as a couple of clicks, and from our app they can also track the performance of the validator. Try and test how the validator transfer works. if they want to go on custodial, try and see what is validator exit and what is the mechanics behind it. And for the more advanced users, they can always actually examine our contracts, everything that we do by visiting our GitHub page. So very transparent, very open, and we encourage everyone to try. It's super cool.
In case there are some questions, we have a Discord and Telegram. You can always ask all the questions there, and we'll be very happy to answer them.
I'll link it down below if someone wants to check it out. So a big thanks to both of you, Dimitri and Kirill. I think it was a very interesting discussion. You answered a lot of questions, and not only I have had, but many of the users that have watched the last video. I've also had in terms of security, in terms of how you run the validators in the cloud, and you make sure that there's no downtime, to how you plan on saving and creating these validator keys without being able to access them. So I think it's fantastic, and I really appreciate that you took the time to answer these questions. And I wish you good luck with the continuation of this project, and hopefully we'll see phase 0 happening soon.
Yeah, hopefully this year.
Hopefully this year.
Thank you very much, Kirill. It's a pleasure to be on here, and great thank you to your community for attention.